Good afternoon. I would like to call this meeting to order of the Del Norte Solid Waste Management Authority. I'm Jason Greeno. I'm the vice chair for this organization. Dean Wilson is out for the day, so I'll be heading the meeting today. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Nuffa?
Here.
Commissioner Short?
I'm here.
Acting Chair Greeno?
I'm here.
Commissioner Borges?
I'm here.
All right. With that, let's stand and pledge allegiance to our great nation flag. At this time, we will open up our public comment period. Any member of the public may address the Solid Waste Management Authority on any matter on or off the agenda. Each speaker will be allotted 3 minutes to make their comment. Is there any public comment? All right. Seeing no, I guess we do have closed session. We will be moving into, I'm closing a public comment, but I'm going to be, looks like we have closed session. We have conference with labor negotiators, agency designed, designated, Representative Ted Ward, and Employees Organization of Del Norte Solid Waste Management Authority, SEIU Local 1021. Do we have any public comment on our closed session item? Seeing no public, no comment, we will retire to closed session at this time. board, do we have any
Our-
actions to report?
Our
out of
legal
closed session?
counsel said there is no reportable action out of that closed session.
Thank you. All right, with that, we will move on to our consent agenda. We have several items on here. We have approved the minutes for the regular session Tuesday, May 19th, 2026. Approve one authority allocation dumpster for the cleanup event set for July 5th through the 12th, as requested by Danielle Larson Wheeler of the Humane Society of Del Norte. We also have a approved 5 authority allocated bin pulls for 2024.
Oops, 2020.
I believe it's
Sorry.
2026.
Sorry about that.
2026 Del Norte County Fair set for August 9th, or 6th through the 9th, 2026, as requested by Kim Floyd, CEO. Anyone on the commission like to pull any of those for discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to pull 2.2 for additional discussion and possible separate vote. And I just had a quick question about 2.3, and that is, it just seems like a 40% increase in requests from the fair seemed like something kind of big to me. And I was just wondering if there was any possible justification for that. Mr. Ward, did you ever hear anything?
My understanding is the last 2 or 3 years, Recology has donated additional cardboard dumpsters for the process of separating cardboard. And I believe they've done that on their own nickel to try to support the fair the last 3 years. And I think they, in conversation with Kim Floyd, they suggested perhaps the authority would like to cover the cost of those bin pulls, because we are not using our full 25 authority allocated bin pulls each year. So I believe that we can approve these 2 additional ones for the fair and the one for the Humane Society without exceeding our 25 bin pull.
So out of those 5 that are requested, are some of them recycling and others are garbage? Or
We are not specific on what needs to be done for each of those bin pulls, because as far as Recology's labor is concerned, they're delivering the bin and picking it up. So it can be recycling, it doesn't have to. But to the extent that they're looking for a waiver of the disposal fees, then it's important that Hambro also for those disposal. So if those 2 dumpsters were additional disposal dumpsters, then that could be an additional cost if Hambro chose not to. That makes sense?
well, possibly. What if Ambrose disagrees?
Then there's a charge for that disposal, because we can waive ours, which is about 1/3 of the disposal cost, but Hambros is about 2/3. So it's their private decision as to whether.
Okay, so there really isn't any justification from Ms. Floyd about the additional.
Not in
Ones?
detail, no.
Okay.
I didn't have any more detail other than I talked to John and he suggested that I asked for 5 this year instead of 3.
Okay, but as you said, we're still inside that contractual
We are.
group. So, okay. So thank you. I'll move that we approve consent agenda 2.1 and 2.3.
Would you like to ask for, or have Director Ward ask for a justification? Just to report back to
I think
the board?
being as we're within that contractual number, I'm satisfied. It was more of a curiosity question as to why we jumped 40% in our request for bin pulls by the fairgrounds. So I'm satisfied with that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
It is within the discretion of the board to say, we'll approve those if they're recycling bins, because that does provide an additional incentive to try to push the fairgrounds in that direction.
Oh, I misunderstood. I thought you were saying that it was
We
going to be at their
we have
discretion to
in the
have
years past
recycling
we have
bins
not
or-
been specific on that, but that's not to say that we don't have any control on that, because for instance we did recently supported Gasky Neighbors Helping Neighbors on a fuel reduction event, which was a great
Mhm.
event, but we specifically donated brush bins. which meant that we were in conversation with the volunteers of that organization saying, got to make sure no trash gets in there, because when trash gets in there, then the whole thing's trash and we can't treat it as brush anymore. So it's part of the negotiations and ways that we work with our partners. So if that's the interest of the board, I'd be happy to do that.
I'm relatively neutral on that. I'm sure they would use recycling bin pulls probably pretty well. I'm sure they could probably fill one or two, I'm sure, but I'm not sure without further conversation that I'd be prepared to rule on that really right now. So as it is right now, I'll stick with my original motion for approval of 2.1 and 2.3.
Without more information, I wouldn't be willing to make a decision on that. The reason we're giving these bin pulls to them is they have deeds. We want to fulfill their needs, right? So
And
we don't want to make it more
it's a
difficult
big
for them to do.
front-facing community event.
Right.
We do this as
So-
community service.
For sure. So, all right. With
I can
that-
see Mr. Borges needs a little bit more explanation. So we have Recology. We're the government agency overseeing the whole system. Recology is the collections contract. They're what we call a franchise, meaning they have the exclusive right to collect mixed trash throughout the community. And in addition, for providing those services, there are additional community services that are required under the contract, such as the 60 paired recycling and solid waste containers you'll see around the downtown area. And we have 25 authority allocated bin pulls to support things like the Klamath River cleanup, the Delaware County Fair, community cleanup kind of events, where essentially we can tell the Recology, all right, drop a bin here for this event, pick it up a week later. And there's not going to be a charge for the bin, but because we also have contracts with Hambro WSG to provide the disposal services at the transfer station, we need engagement from both of our contractors in order that we can meet the needs of our community, who are often just looking for a free dumpster.
And so if that happens and say Hambro decides, no, we're not going to help out, then who's the bill go to?
The disposal bill would go to that particular entity that had requested the bin, because they're the ones who put the materials.
Okay. And so, currently out of the 25,
In almost all cases, Hambros does agree to waive the fees. So it's a rare, I can't even remember the last instance where we had to bill just the Hambros disposal to the customer.
and out of the 25 possible, how many get used a year?
Between 19 and 22.
And this asks for the additional, is that just, so next year when this happens again, is that an automatic, that's now the new number?
No,
or is
it's not. It's not automatic, but we do always try to recall what happened last year so we can anticipate.
Okay, that makes sort of sense. So then I second your motion.
All right. What was the motion?
To approve 2.1 and 2.3.
All right. So we have a motion and a second on the table. Do we have any public comment on these two agenda items? Seeing no public, no comment, we'll bring it back to the commission for a vote.
I'm sorry. You said to approve 2.1 and 2.3
Correct.
through 2.3 or
No,
not 2.2?
Not
Is that
2.2.
correct? Okay,
Not
thank
yet.
you. Thank you very much. Commissioner Naffa,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Short,
Yes.
Commissioner Borges.
Yes.
Chair Greeno.
yes, thank you. And now we will take up item 2.2.
Well, I had a question about 2.2 because it is a cleanup on Delaware County property. And as such, I had a concern about possible conflict. That's why I was hoping Ruben and our legal counsel would be here. This is a request to clean up our dog pound, basically. We have the Humane Society that helps us out at the dog pound, tons. They give tons of volunteer hours, and I'm sure this is a big volunteer effort to clean up the property. But I just had a concern that as a county supervisor, as a county, a piece of this JPA, on the part of the county, would I be in conflict with the county by approving some other entity to pay for a cleanup at a county property? It seemed to me like there would be some sort of conflict there. So I just needed to pose that question to you, Ruben, if you can understand what I'm getting at. We have a county dog pound. The Humane Society helps us out a ton out there. Like I said, lots of volunteer hours, and I'm sure this cleanup effort is completely on the shoulders of the Humane Society. However, it is on Del Norte County property, so I'm a little concerned about that. I was just wondering about your thoughts.
Well, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak. Ruben Cruz, legal counsel for the authority and the board. I believe your concerns are well founded. Unfortunately, I'm not in a position to give a legal opinion definitively, since this is just kind of being brought to my attention at this point. But I believe, sir, that if you are concerned about it, then since you don't have any sort of a personal vested interest in it, you could potentially just recuse yourself from this particular vote and not participate in it, and then allow the other members of the commission, of the authority board, to rule on the matter that's pending. Because I see that the community cleanup event is on July 5th through July 12th. So unfortunately, it doesn't appear we would be able to kind of put it off until the next meeting. But I think that would probably be the safest course of action at this point, given the situation we're presented with.
I'd also like to point out, as a member agency, the JPA provides services to both the city and the county on a regular basis. This is not in any way the first time that we've done that. For instance, when the roads department has trash that they bring in, we take that material. We do not charge the roads department. That comes out of the Del Norte Solid Waste Management Authority budget. Similarly, all those street side containers that are of community benefit, mostly to the city of Crescent City, but also to the county of Del Norte, there's no direct compensation. To me, it's part of how this agency provides services, including our member agencies. And the Humane Society, as a nonprofit, has followed the process just like any other nonprofit would, saying, we'd like to do a community cleanup event. We're doing this event at the place where we work. Can we do it? So to me, it's not really very far afield. And while it's true it's on county property, it's also county property that they're letting the Humane Society use as a dog pound. So to me, I don't personally have any problem with supporting this kind of cleanup activity. And having a supervisor recuse themselves from the vote creates a little problematic issue, because we are comprised of 2 members of the Board of Supervisors, 2 members of the City Council, and 1 the other. So, and any action to be effective requires a vote of both the city and the county. So if there were a legal insistence that county members recuse themselves from such votes, we would not be able to take action on this.
I had considered the pieces of the puzzle that we do chime into, 4th of July, the fair, those, 4th of July Front Street bin pulls that we throw down there.
Right.
It is in my mind, yes, happens on city property, but it is a countywide community benefit event. The street side containers, they're in the city and in the county, but they are for complete public benefit. I guess you could say that the dog pound falls in that as well. My thought is that if we are cleaning up the property, just for the sake of cleaning up the property, then it is solely county property. So I just had a concern there. I didn't know one way or the other. That's why I was seeking legal counsel.
So what do you think, Ruben? Can we take action on this kind of thing or not?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm just not in a position to be able to opine, I would need additional information to evaluate it. So for me to be able to give an opinion, unfortunately, I'm just not in a position at this particular time, given given what I know at this point.
What is the cleanup? What are they cleaning up? What is the project that they're proposing?
My understanding is it's just a general cleanup of the of the property, of the dog pound where the Humane Society is operating. That's my understanding. And they did talk to me beforehand to try to understand the parameters of it. Mostly I was saying, okay, great, you want to do a cleanup, great, you're a nonprofit. What has to happen is this need to be a public event to which everybody's invited, so that everyone who wants to help clean up that property can participate. And that's the standard rules we offer everybody. So similarly, if the Taloa asked for their support of a cleanup, I have the same rules. Even if it's on Taloa property, it has to be a community cleanup. You have to invite everybody saying, we're all doing this together during this period of time. Let's go. And then we can support it.
And we've done cleanups like this behind the cemetery. We've done it behind Safeway. We've done these
Absolutely.
things all
And
over
because
the place,
oftentimes the
and-
cleanups are on public
Yeah.
property, one could point to the public property owners as the beneficiaries, but it doesn't really feel that way. When you clean up the beach, it doesn't really matter who owns it. It's mostly a matter of who wants the beach clean. Or that's my perspective.
And Danielle she's saying we are hosting a community cleanup event at our shelter location. The shelter location is County Dog Pound. So it is a community cleanup event. I just wanted to put it through the ringer to make sure we're on the right page. So
And I really appreciate that. It certainly shows honor and integrity.
I was just going to mention a possible option, but not necessarily that's what the action we should take. But I'm thinking that we could approve this item, and when Ruben brings it back at the next meeting, if he finds a problem, then the county would pay for the one dumpster.
Huh? That's a possibility. Okay. I'm certainly willing to work with that.
I mean, I think we could probably admit to our mistake. I don't know if the county would agree to.
And
guessing-
in fact, I can
don't
do
think the
this
two
much.
of us can decide that for the entire board. That would be-
Exactly.
That would be the biggest concern at the moment.
I would, in line with what you're saying, Eli, is that, transparency and openness with the public. If we did come back and Ruben said, oh, you shouldn't have done that, then the best way to handle that is to say, yep, we did wrong. We won't do it again. And I think that's probably the best way to handle it if we make a mistake.
And we cut an invoice to the county. No. And see what happens. No, that'd be drama.
But the thing about making those kind of mistakes is that we make another entity pay for our mistake is where I was, where my concern was, is that, it's easy for me as the county to go, yeah, you should clean that up and they should pay for it. It's really easy to do. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't conflicted in doing that. So.
I don't see the conflict.
Okay.
I see it as a good for the community. I mean, the Humane Society serves the community, and the property that they utilize is county property. It makes sense
Yeah.
to me. So,
And I'm glad for the conversation. I just wanted to be open with where my thoughts were on that. So.
okay. Well, with that, I will accept the motion if there isn't any further discussion.
I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion to approve items at 2.2.
2.2.
2.2.
Yep. All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any public comment? Seeing no public, no comment. We'll bring it back to the commission for a vote.
Commissioner Neffa,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Short,
Yes,
Commissioner Borges.
Yes.
Chair Greeno.
Yes, thank you.
appreciate the conversation. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Ruben.
With
My
that,
pleasure.
Thank you so much, council. And we'll move on to our director's report.
Thank you, Vice Chair Greeno. Having finished the consent item, we will shortly discuss some of the changes in staff and their approach at the Regional Water Quality Control Board. We do have a refuse site attendant vacancy. We hope to be hiring for that next week. The recruitment has closed, but we've not yet received those applicants from the HR department. Our new account clerk is undergoing training, which is great, and that will, once we have an additional refuse site attendant, we'll have a little bit more space for that training. I did attend the Environmental Services Joint Powers Authority for the rural counties, and that has influenced our legislative discussion under item 7.4. Under item 7.2, we'll be discussing the equipment requests under the OWR4 grant, the SB 1383 implementation grant from CalRecycle. Item 7.3 is our budget. And like I said, 7.4 is looking at potential support for AB 1153 and AB 2250. Now I can move on to the financials if you'd like, or I can answer any.
Any questions from the commission? All right.
Looking at the AR aging summary, you can see that I can tell you that the largest outstanding account, that 7,474, that is a federal agent. So say that there have been challenges, but generally Kathy does an excellent job making sure that nothing gets overdue, and if it does, it gets turned over to collections. Looking at claims approved by the authority director and the treasurer, you can see that the largest payment, as always, is to Hambro WSG for the good services they provide at the Del Norte County Transfer Station. And the next largest expenses go to Creative Information Systems for the scale software we're using at the transfer station. And then another payment to Blue Strike Environmental, which is doing some work under the OWR4 grant. Looking at the monthly cash and charge reports, you can see that in general, traffic is up a little bit, but our income for the last month did not rise to expectations. So it looks like we will be just a little bit below our income expectations for the year. I would expect us to be, we'll probably be ahead of where we are now, which is 32,822 behind our projections, but I expect we'll probably be in the 20,000 range by next month, because our summer months tend to be higher tonnage, more customers, more cash flow. But it seems that since about November, our tonnage is a bit off. So that, for what it's worth, I guess I'll cover that when I talk about the budget. I do try to budget conservatively, so our reduced income actually does impact the income projections I have. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions from the commission? Proceed, sir.
Okay. So item 4.1 is actually kind of exciting. I'll give a brief introduction and then ask Kira for her comments, because she went out to the landfill with Chris Watt, who is our new Regional Water Quality Control Board contact. In general, the Regional Water Quality Control Board is the entity that looks very closely over our shoulder with respect to the Crescent City landfill. So they look at all of our monitoring reports. We have what's known as waste discharge requirements that specify how we test groundwater and surface water, what we test for, how frequently we report, all of those things. We also work with Lawrence and Associates, which is an engineering contracting firm, to do the water quality analysis of those laboratory results. I'm quite excited that in general, the Regional Water Quality Control Board is recognizing they have way too many closed landfills for the staff they have to oversee. So they are looking to consolidate and reduce the amount of monitoring that we're looking to do. But they want to do this in a coherent process, and so they are visiting all the landfills and having these discussions. But I'm pretty excited by the direction of the discussion because, as you may know, water quality monitoring is a very significant investment of this agency, both in terms of staff time and laboratory expenses. And recently, because the laboratory has changed management hands, our staff have had to retest multiple times in the past year, and that's been extremely frustrating because, of course, who wants to do the same work twice, right? And so it's frustrating. So it's very exciting that the Regional Water Quality Control Board is considering stepping back from those requirements. And so, Kira, tell us how that conversation out at the landfill went.
Thanks for that. You hit almost my points. So the North Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board is in the process of developing general waste discharge requirements for closed landfill facilities in the North Coast region. Now, historically, these sites have each been regulated by individual requirements, many of which are outdated. The board is now transitioning to a unified general order to ensure updated, consistent standards for post-closure maintenance and water quality monitoring. So it's great that all of them are being looked at, and standardization is going to help us out quite a bit. The new approach will streamline oversight, improve compliance with state and federal regulations, and help facilities update their monitoring and reporting programs. The Del Norte Solid Waste Management Authority are invited to participate in this process by the Water Quality Control Board. And we'll be sharing input on how our monitoring and reporting is tailored. And we're going to be working closely with them to enhance our protections and operational efficiency, which means looking at how much redundancy there is, what our threat level is, in hopes to streamline, make better decisions about how and when and for what we're monitoring. So we got a lot of advice when we went on our walkthrough, and that was fantastic. So we had an introductory meeting already, and we've also had a site visit at our closed landfill with Chris Watt from the Water Board. So on this inspection, our landfill was in excellent condition, well maintained, and all repairs complete. The area is freshly mowed with berms exposed. This is a good thing. And this partnership, I know, is very important. And in-person visits like this help strengthen this relationship. Moving forward this year, staff will continue to work closely with the Water Board to achieve the best outcomes for our community, both environmentally and economically looking forward. Thank you. Any questions?
So I'm just trying to understand. I understand standardization across the board. State of California could be. I mean, they could implement more regulations. They could implement less regulations.
They are looking to go the other direction. So
I mean
more towards lowering
okay.
our threat level.
Oh, okay. And that's because we have consistently
exactly. We have
certain numbers as far as
we have 30 years of great numbers and documentation.
All right. At some point, are they going to also implement a point where we completely drop off, or is that like not a possibility at all?
I wish I knew the answer to that.
Okay.
Maybe.
And could this affect maybe the number of times we have to test per year?
It could.
Is that the idea?
It could, absolutely. We'll be working closely with the water boards and Lawrence and Associates to come up with some better for us monitoring system.
Okay. I'm a little surprised because usually it's always gone in one direction, and that is more stringent testing, more tests per year, which
well, yeah, we're well
sense
pleased.
if you're if you're a newly shut down
Mhm.
facility maybe, or if your numbers are bad, or if it's not being kept well, that makes sense. But okay, well, can be a positive. But any comments or questions from the commission? Right. Well, excellent. We will hope for the best then.
Excellent.
We'll keep you posted.
That sounds
Indeed.
encouraging.
We can have a picnic on Mount Trashmore.
All right. It doesn't look, that was more of an informational item.
It was a status report on how things are, and if we have, as we have more details, we'll bring it back.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. Moving on in our agenda, if there's any further discussion, we have no transfer station items. We have no collections franchise items, and we're going to move to our general solid waste authority matters. Item 7.1, hold a public hearing regarding status of authority vacancies, recruitment and retention efforts per California Government Code 3502.3, and consider providing direction to staff.
So this is a new law that was passed in 2024, Assembly Bill 2561, essentially calls for public agencies like ours to discuss the vacancies that we have, why they exist, what recruitment efforts are being done. And so this is that report. I've sent it in draft form to our Kevin Arnold, the SEIU contact, and he is entitled to make a presentation at this public meeting. I don't know that he's online or here. He did not seem to have any specific concerns, except for to say that he did not express a need for additional information beyond what was in the report. In short, the authority currently does have 2 vacancies within the bargaining units, 9 positions, and we are recruiting for one of those vacancies. It's a little complicated in that when we are fully staffed, if we were to have 10 employees at the agency, then we've got so many refuse site attendants that it becomes challenging to give them enough hours. Because while during the summer months, meaning July to September, both the Gasky and the Klamath transfer stations are open 1 day extra per week. So there's a few more hours for refuse site attendants. But come the winter months, other 9 months here, we don't really have enough hours for everyone. So if we have that extra employee, then everybody feels a little bit more stressed about them not having enough hours. So it's useful to have this vacancy that can fluctuate depending upon our circumstance and our hiring capacity. So there's that. Then we also have an additional vacancy because our current operations technician, Michael McClellan, used to be a refuse site attendant / field tech. And when consulting about agency management and things like that, I remember Ernie Perry advising me, it is much easier to retain a position and to just keep it vacant than it is to establish a new position at some later date. So I followed that advice. And even though there is some additional expense to the agency, I believe it slightly increases our interfund cost plan. But bottom line is it's still value to the agency. So at this point, we have, Human Resources says that as with that current vacancy is not part of our staffing chart, it's also not part of the bargaining. So consequently, our current vacancy rate is 22%. When we hire the new refuse site attendant, our vacancy rate will drop to 11%. And regarding retention efforts, we all just sat in a closed session discussing negotiations with the union to try to essentially update our MOU so it does address retention. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Comment? As far as your refuse site attendant that you're not planning on hiring, would it be helpful to change that to a seasonal position? Like, are there certain months out of the year that you do need that person? Like, you're going to be stretched thin if you don't have that person?
It's a difficult question to answer, mostly because of the training process that takes 6. And so if we need somebody for summer, we need to have hired them 5, 6 months ago. So that's the real challenge. So in general, it just is useful to have the extra vacancy. So if the timing works out, we're a little flush sometimes and a little less the others, but that's rational.
All right. Any discussion on this? Okay. And you don't require any action on this? item?
No, we do have to officially have a public hearing though, and I don't think we've done
Oh.
that.
Well, I did open the public.
Oh,
hearing,
I'm sorry. Okay.
and I guess I'll-
Ruben, do we have to do anything special for the public hearing before we close it out?
Nothing other than just simply inviting any members of the public or the union if they wish to make any comments at this time.
Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back and I will close this hearing. And, besides that, there isn't any action, right?
Nope.
Okay. With that, we will move on to item 7.2, discussion and possible action regarding purchases of equipment and supplies under SB 1383, local assistance OWR4 grant from Cal Recycle.
So there was an additional handout on this one. Essentially, the equipment requests have been revised by most of the participants, and the total equipment request is now below the budget that we have available to address these equipment requests. That is, if we pull out the 20,000 for the generator requested by Grace Lutheran. Grace Lutheran's request for a generator was not just for the generator, but really for the building electrical. And that became problematic for thinking in terms of the equipment use agreement. Because one of the requirements under this grant is that while we're delighted to be able to have a grant to be able to support the community benefits of food rescue and expanded composting opportunities, the equipment that we purchase under the grant needs to be owned by the authority. And so most of this equipment is going to have a 5-year service life or thereabouts. And so essentially we have an equipment use agreement that we all understand each other, that the authority owns the equipment. If for some reason the entity that has requested the equipment finds an early end, then they need to give the equipment back to the agency. And other than that, after the end of the depreciated life, they could continue to use that equipment. So that's the basic agreement, but everybody has to agree to be able to sign that agreement. Otherwise, we can't buy them the equipment. Does that make sense?
So Grace Lutheran isn't willing to sign the agreement.
No, while they're willing to sign the agreement, there's no way that we could take the electrical out of their building
Right.
and then bring it back to the agency.
And they're
That's-
not willing to take on the cost for
it's
the electrical.
what they've requested is not something that I think is fundable under the equipment use agreement.
Okay. I mean, if they were willing to pay for the electrical, we could probably do the generator.
Right, but at this point, we've been through several iterations of changing the request, so I think these requests are final now. We don't have time to negotiate any further. So staff recommendation is to actually approve this. All of these have been reviewed by the task force. We did submit to you the evaluation. Essentially, under the summary of task force evaluations, you see out of 100 the relative scores of each of those requests. They are all. I'm generally quite pleased with this. Essentially every group that's working in these arenas, food rescue and composting, has participated in these discussions, and I really do feel like it's a good community outcome. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions or comments from the commission? All right, I'll entertain a motion then.
I'll move that we approve the 6 agencies that are requesting funding from this grant for a total of $46,500.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a Motion and a second. Do we have any public comment on this item? Seeing no public comment, we'll bring it back to the commission for a vote.
Commissioner Naffa,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright, Commissioner Short,
Yes.
Commissioner Borges,
Yes.
Chair Greeno.
Yes, thank you. All right, moving on to item 7.3, a public hearing, which I will open at this time, followed by discussion, possible approval of the proposed Del Norte Solid Waste Management Authority budget for fiscal year 2026 through 27, and adoption of the authority resolution 2026-05.
Thank you, Vice Chair Greenow. So this is the annual budget. As per the Joint Powers Agreement, the second amended Joint Powers Agreement, I've made this available for comment to both the Del Norte County Board of Supervisors and the City Council last night. We did not receive any comments from either of those entities. So at this point, this balanced budget is ready for adoption. It's also worth noting that I appreciate Ruben Cruz's advice that as a public agency, we need to adopt this by resolution. So this is the first time we've had a resolution in some time. But so the action to adopt the budget is actually a passage of resolution 2026-05. So that would be the recommendation. Adopt that.
All right, do we have any questions or comments on this item?
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion, we approve the budget proposed for fiscal year 26-27 and adopt the resolution 2026-05.
We have a motion. We have a second.
I'll second.
Second. Okay. Yeah, Isaiah got it.
All right. Do we have any public comment at this time? Seeing no public comment, we'll bring it back to the commission for a vote.
Commissioner Naffa,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Short,
Yes.
Commissioner Borges,
Yes.
Chair Greeno.
Yes, thank you. We are now on our final item, 7.4, discussion regarding legislation, including discussion and possible adoption of support positions for AB 1153, Bonta, and AB 2253, Warner.
Thank you, Vice Chair Greenow. So these two additional bills would be added to the legislative positions, which are under the analysis on the back page of that. And you can see that of the bills that the board has supported, 5 out of 6 are still alive, which is great. So not dead yet is always a good way to be. But you can see 1153 and 2253 are on the bottom there. 1153 is a bill that would authorize CalRecycle, that's the state agency overseeing solid waste and recycling, with appropriation of the legislature to expend funds and remove and dispose of recreational vehicles and to develop local enforcement teams and illegal dumping enforcement officers. So the reason why this is a good idea is that at this point, there isn't really an official entity responsible for illegal dumping. And CalRecycle has helped a little bit in consolidating some of the information about illegal dumping, but they really don't have any official role with that. And yet, as a state agency, they're the perfect place to start consolidating that information and to figure out good strategies to try to deal with these things. RVs are a particular challenge in that, as you may recall, we have the Abandoned Vehicle Abatement Service Authority, which for $1 per vehicle registration creates a pool of money that allows us to deal with abandoned vehicles. That process means that when an abandoned vehicle is found, then it's tagged, it gets towed over to an impoundment yard, and then in the impoundment yard, it sits as the folks work through the process to figure out who last owned this vehicle, who's the source of this problem really, and if the vehicle has been stolen, making sure that that vehicle gets back to the right owner. But for RVs, that's particularly problematic for several reasons. One, it takes up a lot more space in the yard. Generally, they have a lot lower value and a lot higher cost in terms of scrapping and dismantling. And so for all of those reasons, generally the towing yards don't want to deal with RVs. And so they and this is statewide. And so, in some ways, I have a poster that has been used at the legislature, taken on right on Northcrest Drive, of an abandoned fifth wheel with a big "free" painted along the side of it. And it's a great illustration of the problem because clearly responsible management of that material as disposal is not free. So if you're giving it away, you're giving away that cost also. And if the person takes it for free, they may not have that money to properly manage it. So again, the system's kind of upside down. Whenever the disposal cost exceeds the potential purchase cost, the system is broken. So that's why we're recommending that we actually adopt a support position on AB 1153. You can either take a separate vote now, or I can go ahead and talk about AB 2253.
Do you just need, you would like a official vote on that?
Yes, if
Not
you
just
would like
direction.
us to support that in through the legislature, then I need your vote on it.
Okay, do we have a motion
No,
on?
I would make that motion that we adopt support positions for AB 1153 and AB 2253.
Oh, okay,
Well, let's give him a
that makes it
chance to
fast.
explain that.
The 2253, as you've asked me to explain. So this is essentially truth in labeling law. One of our big problems in terms of recycling right now is environmental claims are easy to print on a package. Following through with them is really where the rubber hits the road. And if you're making a claim on a package and that claim is not true, that undermines everybody else who's trying to recycle the right way. So it's really important, especially as we're starting to roll out, say, SB 54, which is going to address all single-use packaging and to-go foodware. Then it's really important to make sure that those labeling laws are also enforceable, because otherwise you can have mislabeled stuff gumming up your recycling system, and until you fix that mislabeling problem, you're going to have a gummy system. So that's why we're supporting, or I would recommend the board support AB 2250.
This has been an issue in our county for a long time. Oh, it just, people look at the label and says, oh, it says it's recyclable. Just chuck it in the blue container. But that's not always the case.
Not always the case. And for anybody who's confused about these things, you can always give us a call, 465-1100. Happy to answer those questions.
So I have a question regarding different companies around the state other than Recology. I'm assuming that some will take some things and some won't, that will vary, and not all of them are basically following the same path.
To some extent, that's true. SB 54 will be working to address that very issue, however, and that they're looking to have a consolidated list of generally recyclable items across the state. There may be additional things. For instance, gable-top cartons are not practically recyclable in our community. However, in the Bay Area, where you have a larger population, they may be, as one example.
Well, we have a motion.
I will second that.
And we have a second. Do we have any public comment on this item? Seeing no public comment, we'll bring it back to the commission for a vote.
Commissioner Naffa,
Yes?
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
Commissioner Short,
Yes.
Commissioner Borges.
Yes.
Chair Greeno.
Yes, thank you. And with that, we will move to adjourn our meeting until our next regularly scheduled meeting on July 21st.